Alright guys, so in this video I'm going to answer all the questions that, or at least like the majority, like the main ones that people asked in the Q&A from a few days ago. And yeah, so I let the video kind of sit for a few days because I didn't want to just put it up one day and then not give everyone a chance to ask a question. So the criteria for the questions that I chose is kind of just like the most popular ones and the most commonly asked. So the first one from Ahmed says, when did you join IM? Who would you say are your best teammates? Congrats on 15K. Thank you for the congratulations. But as far as how I got into IM or when I did, I think it was like back in January, last January, maybe February, something like that. It goes back a little bit farther. I went into a Rumble game and I ran into Like Butta, who was one of the people who had like the #1 DTR score from the beta, and he had a montage with like a few 100,000 views, so it was really popular. And I ran into him in Rumble, so I sent him a message afterwards and stuff, and then we partied up and played like a few more Rumble games. Then I added him, and I was really bad at that point. I'm pretty sure I was still in my stage where I ran around with the Found Verdict and a Void Walker, just blink shotgunning people and not using my primary at all. And from that point on, I started playing with him and just like control, like every once in a while. And then time goes on, I start sniping more. And then I think like in February or something, he messaged me on PSN asking if I wanted to join, because they wanted to make a team to play like sweaties and stuff with. And what ended up happening is I gave him my Skype, and then I didn't really want to leave my old group of people, which was called FTR, as my friends. And eventually what ended up happening is I did leave, and I brought one person with me, which was BD. And then, well, he doesn't really play much anymore. He does trials and all that. But it kind of like, I don't know, a lot of the people that have joined now kind of joined through me. Like I suggested them and they ended up joining. Render, Inspire, and Fable all joined through me, pretty much. So yeah, I think that kind of answers the question. So I joined like 7 to 8 months ago, and I got in through Like Butta. Like Butta, actually, the reason I queued with him in Rumble, he lives like 20 to 30 minutes away from me, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, that's basically how I got into IM. The next question says, would you be able to do a Destiny setup video showing how you set up your stuff with each subclass in PvP? I've kind of thought about this, but I never really did it because I get lazy a lot of the times and I forget to do stuff. But definitely in the future, I think I should be doing one of those soon, maybe even the next video, I'm not quite sure. But the next question is going to be, how do you feel when you play tournaments? Do you ever get mad and start playing horrible, or do you just chill? It's kind of hard to answer. I don't really get mad in tournaments that much because you can't really afford to get mad. I do get really nervous. I'd say that's probably the biggest factor in tournaments for a lot of people, especially if you haven't played in one before. When you're in like the finals or something like that and you know you're playing against good people, it's really nerve-wracking, especially like if you have to go through the whole day just thinking about it. Sometimes it can get in your head and you do really bad and you start shaking and stuff. Not like shaking like you're like quivering or whatever, or I don't know how to say it. You're shaking in your seat or whatever. It's more of just like, I don't know, like your hands are like really spastic and stuff, and you can't really control it. It's happened to me several times, but I don't usually get very mad. Just like in normal pickup games, if stuff goes on that's, you know, makes me really annoyed, then I do get mad. But for the most part, like if it's a tournament or something like that, I don't usually get that mad. So moving on to the next question. Chase says, do you ever play with viewers, or do you ever plan on playing with viewers? Most of the time I don't, unless it's something like trials. The reason being is I don't have a ton of time to play now with like high school. Like my Spanish class takes forever and takes most of my time out of my day. YouTube, all that stuff. When it goes on, when I try to get online to play, I usually end up playing with my friends. And I don't really have like if you were streaming full time or something like that, then you can have like a lot of time throughout the day where you could play with people. But for the most part, I usually just kind of play with my friends that I've been playing with, I guess you'd say. I don't know. But the next question is going to be coming from Emil Mafat. I think I'm pronouncing that right. But he says, do you think Destiny is dying? So this is kind of like a popular question lately because if you've been on Twitch, Destiny has not been getting as many viewers as it used to in the past. And a big reason for this is because I think most of the big Destiny streamers are getting a little bit bored with Destiny. So because a ton of new games like, you know, Black Ops 3, Battlefront and stuff like that were released, and Halo and all that, they want to try those other games, so maybe they're streaming those other games instead. So I don't think necessarily Destiny is dying. I think everyone's just kind of taking a little bit of a break. I think Destiny is like one of the only games that can, like, it keeps you coming back, I guess you'd say. So I think that, once people get bored of all these new games that they just recently bought that just came out, that they're going to come back. But for now, it's kind of a little bit, I guess, dead. I don't know. Like, I usually have like 12 pages of friends on, but now I usually have like 4 to 5. So I guess that does qualify as dying. I don't think it's going to be dead soon. I think it's going to go away for a little bit. Not that many people are going to be playing it, and then once people kind of get bored of those games, everyone will kind of return. And, especially with like new DLC and stuff coming out, I think it should revive it pretty well. Like, it's not dead right now, but it's definitely not as popular as it has been in the past. So the next question is coming from Extratus Gaming. He says, if Destiny ever became a competitive esports game, would you participate? It kind of depends. Like, I have a lot going on regarding like YouTube, high school, all that stuff. It would be rough anyways, even if you're just in high school and didn't have like many other things going on. But it's kind of a conditional question, because I really don't know what would be going on in my life if that did happen, if Destiny ever did become competitive or have private matches or anything like that. I don't know what I would be doing at that point. I would try to, if I was good enough, I would try to do it. But I highly doubt that, if a lot of really good FPS players move to Destiny, I think they would probably outclass a lot of people that are like on the top of the food chain right now. But who knows, I could be pretty decent in the future, and if I was, then I would definitely try to make that a possibility. So the next question comes from Noel Salazar. He says, when did you start playing competitive, or when did you start playing sweats? Or, because that's kind of what they're called. I know a lot of people don't like that name, but that's kind of how they've always been referred to. But when I started playing these was probably like it was a really long time ago compared to most people. I'm one of the first people to really start playing them. I'm pretty sure the first one I played was either like in January or February. It was definitely a really, really long time ago, so it's coming up on about a year and a few months that I've been playing sweaties or competitive matches or whatever you want to call them. So it's definitely been like a long time, so they don't really have like the same intensity that they used to, because I know like when you first start it and you're really into it, people do really well and they're always like paying attention and they know exactly what's going on, but it's kind of hard to treat them the same way when that's really all you've been doing for that long. But yeah, it's been like 7 to 8 months. So the next question comes from Hayan Shakur. I think I'm saying that right, but this was kind of a common question. I've been asked what was like my first-person shooter that I played like ever since I was little, and I think like the first one that I ever really played was Black Ops 1, but I didn't really play it for the multiplayer even. I pretty much exclusively played zombies, so Destiny was really like my first-person shooter that I really played. I did play Black Ops 2 multiplayer a bit, but I wasn't really that into it. I was like 12 or 13 or something, but that's kind of like my first-person shooters that I did play. Moving on to the next question, we have a question by Statistix. He says, do you know a website/community for Destiny tournaments, and do you prefer hand cannon meta or the pulse rifle meta? So the website for the place that hosted the last tournament is armdaygaming.com. And then as far as do you prefer hand cannon or pulse rifle meta? Personally, I think hand cannon meta was more fun. Pulse rifle was a lot more balanced. Some of the things that I think they should have done, well, of course, this wouldn't really balance out the game, but as far as like what I would like, an ideal place that I would want to be playing in, or like set of rules or whatever, it would be taking away the ADS damage or like the glitchy bonus damage that you're not supposed to get with Last Word, which they did get rid of, but don't change it. Don't change the Last Word besides the ADS damage glitch. Just get rid of that. And then as far as Thorn, make the range a little bit less, and then get rid of the green goo that gets covered on your screen when you get shot by it. Of course, those wouldn't bring like weapons on par with each other, like as far as hand cannons and pulse rifles and auto rifles and all that. But personally, that's probably what I would want to be playing in. As far as what I prefer right now, either hand cannon or pulse rifle, I would probably say hand cannon was a lot more fun. Pulse rifle is more balanced, so it's kind of like I can't really choose. One thing that was really annoying during the last meta that kind of tainted the hand cannon one for me was Blink and Arc Bolt and Thorn and all that, and Lucky Raspberry, which was really annoying. But as far as like gunplay goes, I don't know, like they're both really fun in their own way, but if I could choose one, it would probably have to be the hand cannon meta. The next question comes from Insane Hammer Studios, and he says, for the Q&A, 1, face reveal, which I'm not going to do yet. 2, I would love to have a chat with you. 3, what got you into the competitive scene, which I already answered. 4 is like, what does your gamer tag means? 5 is 1,000 yard stare or steel piercer. Gunslinger, Night Stalker, Blinker, Slide Shot, Hawksaw or PDX, and lastly, favorite maps. So some of these I didn't exactly understand, but I'm kind of trying to answer the ones that I did understand. So as far as the first one, which would be what got you into the competitive scene, it was kind of just like playing against good people, and like there's a lot of like trash talk between like different clans at that time, I guess, like people who thought they're the best. So people would find a way to match up against one another, because like we would run into people by accident sometimes, and then as soon as we found a way to like run into people on purpose, we wanted to do it a lot to like prove who was the best or whatever. So that's kind of how that started. For 4, what does your gamer tag mean? It doesn't really mean anything. I made it when I was like 12. I used to just come up with like stupid names. Like I'm pretty sure like my PSN name before that was like Paula Popple or something. It was some stupid name, but I just thought of dumb names that I thought sounded funny or nerdy or whatever, and I ended up picking them. So that's kind of how my name is what it is right now, and I never ended up changing it. And I don't think I ever will at this point. But number 5 says 1,000 yard stare, Steel Piercer. I think Steel Piercer is pretty fun. When I was on someone else's account, I used it, but I don't even have it on my account. But as far as like, what I think like overall from my experience with both, I'd probably say the 1,000 yard stare is better, or at least I prefer it over the Steel Piercer. Gunslinger or Night Stalker. Personally, I like to use Gunslinger. Night Stalker is more of like a class that I like to mess around with. But if I'm trying to do like the best that I possibly can, then I'll be using Gunslinger. Blinker, Slide Shot. I think he means Slide Shotgun, but I don't really do either that often. But Blink isn't really that good anymore, so I guess Slide Shotgun. I don't really know how to answer that question. The next one is Hawksaw or PDX. I don't even have a PDX right now, and I don't even have, I think, like rank 1 gunsmith, so I'm just using the Hawksaw that I bought from the vendor. So at least for now, I'd have to say Hawksaw over PDX. And then the last question of this whole entire, I think it's like 5 to 6 questions. It's what is your favorite map? So my favorite map is probably Shores of Time. I don't know, like when I play on it, you just get a ton of sniper kills and it's a lot of fun playing it. So that's kind of my favorite map. So at this point, I'm kind of out of breath, so I'm going to try to answer the last 3 questions as quickly as possible. So Andrew asked, were you just naturally good at first-person shooters, or did you have to work for it? What were some of the most successful things you did to improve your game or to make you better at the game? I wasn't naturally good at first-person shooters. I was naturally like pretty good at video games, but like first-person shooters are really weird because aiming with a controller is something that not everyone can do, and most people can't really do off the bat. I was really bad at Call of Duty when I first started playing it, like when I was like 12, because I could not hit anything. And then just overall, like a lot of people ask for tips of how to get better, but the only tip that you can really give anyone that's gonna like truly help them is just to play the game more and play more. And like with experience, you get more comfortable with it and your aim becomes a lot better. And I don't know, that's kind of like the stage at which like my skill at Destiny progressed. I was kind of thinking of uploading a video of like gameplay from a very long time ago, like the first week that Destiny came out, and kind of comparing that to how I am now. So you can kind of see the difference at how bad I was like back then versus like how much more I've improved over time. And I don't know, I thought it was a good idea, and I don't know, I don't really know how to answer as far as what were some of the most successful things you did to improve. I say the only one that I really could do was like, I don't know, I lowered my sensitivity and I started sniping. Before that, I only used a shotgun, and I pretty much primaried my shotgun. And then, like, I don't know, if you want to get better at the game, I say lower your sensitivity, start using your primary more, and start sniping. Because even if you are sniping and you're not using your primary, you're at least aiming, which you don't exactly do with a shotgun. So that's my kind of advice for that. And the next question is going to be coming from Koiki Boy. I don't really know how to read that. What do you dislike most in PvP in terms of guns and classes? Number 1, as far as guns go, I hate shotguns, and I used to hate Thorn before it became terrible. And then the second one is classes. I really don't like Night Stalkers. They're so annoying to play against. Shade stepping around, because it takes off pretty much all aim assist, and you can't really see them because most of the times the maps are pretty dark, and if they're in any type of semi-dark area, if they shade step, like you lose complete track of them and you can't see them. So it's like, I don't know, like it really annoys me when people shade step shotgun. That's all I can say. And then the last question comes from Cole Morris. He says, why do you slide so much? Because just from watching you, I find myself doing it all the time now. So the reason I slide, if you guys didn't know it, I made a video about it like a really long time ago. But when you slide, you don't give up movement from when you're crouching, right? If you want to stay off the radar, you crouch, but you can't really move that fast. But if you slide, people think it'll make you faster, which isn't really the truth. You're pretty much going at the same speed you would be if you're sprinting, but when you slide, you get taken off the radar. So I like to slide around as much as possible so I don't stay on the radar. And I don't know, overall it just helps you. You're a lot quicker and you don't really show up on the radar that much, so you can be a lot sneakier. So yeah, that's kind of like all the questions that were the most common that I got asked. I tried to answer them. I'm out of breath right now, so I'm gonna have to end the video. For 20,000, we're either gonna do another Q&A or some other type of celebration where I'll try to answer more questions, but I don't know. That's gonna wrap it up for the video today. I hope you guys did enjoy. Once again, thank you for 15,000 subscribers, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.